Welcome, everybody, to Rick Konkoff's Coffee House. Tonight, we have a very amazing performance by a violinist by the name of Tingting. And Tingting's going to dazzle us, and then she's going to come on and talk to us. However, all right, I'm looking for Tingting's performance, and it starts with a T. This is a new thing for me, so bear with me on my technical gaffoos. People watch this sometimes just for the technical gaffoos. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Tingting, the second partita Bach, second movement, I believe it is. Here we go.
Hello everyone, I'm going to play Giga in the second partita by Sebastian Bach.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. I hope that you can hear me. We are back in the studio, and I'm hoping that you can hear me. And we're going to attempt to do some changing around. And a little bit later, in a few minutes, we will bring Tingting on for a little bit of talking. I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction to what we're going to do tonight. Kevin Simmons, who is my colleague and esteemed music and vocal coach, is going to join me while we're waiting for Tingting to come on. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Kevin. Can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
There's very little difficulty usually with hearing you loud and clear, Rick, may I say.
Okay, so
it's a good thing you have so much that's great to say.
In case you weren't watching the screen, there were some fantastic visual effects that I provided. Among them were infrequent appearances of you and I on the screen during Tingting's lovely performance.
Yeah.
As well as you walking across the room. But we're here now, and we're safe, and we're waiting for Tingting to show up. And I'm not sure when I've never done this many videos in one swoop. But let me start off by talking about Tingting a little bit, and we'll segue into our part, but hang tight there, Kevin. So Tingting Gu is an amazing symphony and concert violinist. And I went over to her house today to get the video that you just saw, which was a beautiful Bach partita, a portion of it. And the reason I went over there is she has two children, one 3 years old and one several months old. And she works hard to keep her violin chops going and her symphony work going and her students going and her babies going and her household going and her life going.
A lot of going.
It's a lot of going. And so today I went over there and I talked a little bit to Tingting and I said, when you come on tonight, what would you like to talk about? And I really loved what she expressed that she wanted to talk about. And she wanted to talk about being a mom and a working musician at the same time. And so we will enjoy hearing from her when she comes on. And that will be because we're very candid on this program when she finishes feeding the baby. And we're going to honor that because she's got to do that. I have another clip.
You know what, Rick? I just want to put something in here. Is it okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, were you breastfed?
No.
I also was a bottle baby. This is
Right.
what my mother said to me by way of explanation and apology later in life. She said, Kevin, when you were born, I already had 2 children under 3. And when I went to the dentist, I had 17 cavities. And so it was the bottle for you. She needed every scrap. She needed every scrap of calcium that she could sequester in her own bones and teeth at that moment.
Wonderful. Wonderful. It makes a lot of sense. I'm going to see if I can share. Oh, let me see something here. So I shared the partita. I have one more thing I can share. We're going to experimental land, Kevin, and that's okay because every time we go on the air, there's some kind of treat. And what I've told people I call this is the poor person's American Idol. I'm the poor person, and the idols are the performers and the speakers. So I'm going to attempt to do something that is unbelievable. And if it can be done, we'll have a treat. And if it can't be done, we'll have embarrassment. So hang in there for a second.
I'm feeling safe.
Good. People do feel safe with me. All right. Now we're going to try this. all of you. And by the way, this is Rick Konkoff's coffee house. And when I went on to do my little spot today in my sound check, I mispronounced my own name. And so I want to make it clear to all you that my name is Rick Konkoff and not Komkoff. Apparently, I said this is Rick Komkoff's coffee house, and that would never work. So I'm going to go to a screen here, and I'm going to see if I can bring on this other recording of Tingting, which is also equally dazzling. Okay. This is getting exciting. Kevin, entertain us while we're waiting.
Well, I was just thinking about, you said it would never work, that your mispronunciation was accurate. And I was thinking to myself, well, unless your name actually had been Komkoff. And then that reminded me of that bumper sticker that used to be popular, "War is not the answer." And that is true, unless the question is, what is it that is not the answer?
Right.
And then war would be the answer.
There you go.
Is that good enough?
Yes, and a little bit more, if you will.
Okay.
We're almost there.
Along the subject of bumper stickers, I guess my favorite one that I've seen in recent years, I mean, there were so many when we were growing up with Nixon, and but like Nixon's father should have pulled out sooner. Those folks.
Right. All right, we're on. We got it, Kevin.
Okay.
Let's pray here. Can you see anything right now?
I can see me and you.
All right, we're going to do it. It's going to happen. Are you getting anything? Are you getting a violin solo right now? All right, Kevin, we're back.
So the other bumper sticker that I saw recently was one of my favorites, and that was in the parking lot at world famous Summerfield Waldorf School and Farm. And that was SWSF, We Bring the Harm. No, not that one. It was a small square bumper sticker that looked home produced, and it said, "Be now soon." which I thought was just the punchline in the category of bumper stickers that are just the punchline. I loved that one. That was
I love it too.
You can't be here now, then be now soon. Gosh darn it. My mom had some bumper stickers on her, that lady boy. Adam was a rough draft. I remember that one. And also, a woman without a man is like a fish without a bicycle. That was one of my mom's other ones. She was one of the early Gloria Steinem feminists who went on to quite an academic and publishing career as a militant feminist, as a feminist revisionist historian, as a matter of fact.
Great. Well, Kevin,
do you want more from me, Rick, or what do you want?
No, you've done enough. You've done enough.
I have done enough. It's true.
Okay, so now I'm going to get serious, and we'll take it from there. First of all, we have Kevin Simmons here. I want to give a little introduction to Kevin Simmons. Kevin Simmons is a has-been.
Is a has-been. Thank you so much, Richard Komkoff. Mr. Komkoff. Well done, Mr. Komkoff. That's nice. Okay. I feel so safe. No wonder I feel so safe. I'm already dead and being buried. This is a eulogy program for me.
Has been a colleague of mine. All right. Yes. And we talked together for many years. And Kevin is a man and a teacher of many, many traits and of many trades and of many talents. He is
I thought you said traits. 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 I thought you said a man of many traits.
Oh man. Okay. Anyway.
Oh God. Come on, Rick. Wait, should I just do it?
Go ahead.
No, it's you.
All
it
right.
has to be you.
All right. So one of the fun things is that I can make Kevin small like that. And that's helpful. Kevin is a colleague of mine, and Kevin came on to our school many years ago as a chorus teacher and went into humanities, went into producing theater, musicals, and plays at our school, and became a regular fixture who had a very unique role that is quite important for young people. And that is bringing young people into a realization that they can be more than they think they can be, that they can realize their dreams about who they are and who they are going to be, and that they can be in the moment lots of different people in lots of different roles. They say, by the way, that the reason that drama is essential in any school curriculum because especially in high school, if you don't have drama and have theater, the students will create drama for themselves. And being into drama and music and art and all of these ways of expression helps the teenagers to manifest who they are on any given day or in any given semester. Gives them a chance to really move into finding out who they are. So the reason I asked Kevin on tonight is because I have a concern around performing. So let me back up a little bit and tell you about the coffee house. So the coffee house was established I have basically three precepts or three roads or three paths that will lead to a better world. One is better parenting, one is better teaching, and one is intergenerational collaboration. And the third one is one that I am focusing on at this juncture in my life, because I think that the young folks need us, and I think we need the young folks at both sides of the continuum. And so I wanted to create a venue during COVID where my many past students, a number of them who are also past students of Kevin, who are now in their 20s and 30s and even 40s, who are performers, who are professional artists, musicians, dancers, songwriters, singers, actors and actresses, to give them a chance to perform. And so I created the coffee house as a venue for that. And every single performance has been incredible. It's been incredible because, as I'll admit first, as a talk show host or an interviewer, I've got talent. As an artist and a musician, I've got talent. As far as running technical buttons and switches, it's all up for grabs, and we never know what's going to happen, as we saw tonight. And Kevin and I enjoyed a good laugh, which, by the way, we both needed a good laugh. Joni Mitchell has a song where she says, laughing and crying, they're the same release. And we all feel like laughing and crying right now. And segueing out of the coffee house and then into the music we've been performing. So this music is happening, and this talent is happening, and this expression that people, these former students who are 20s, 30s, 40s, have been able to do is happening because they had the opportunity to develop and notice these talents and skills and abilities and passions when they were younger. And they happen to know it because they were influenced by a number of people in growing up. And so I asked Kevin to come on and talk a little bit about his musical journey, which in our practice session, when we were doing a little run through, I realized in all my years of knowing Kevin, maybe 15, 12, 14, 13, I don't know, whatever it is. I had never asked him what was his pathway to music that he is currently in. And that is really, really exciting. And what I'm also going to do, Kevin, is I want to leave it right there for a second.
Sure.
We're going to pause it.
I'm used to that.
And we're going to bring on Ting.
You bring me to the altar again and again, Rick.
Tingting.
Yes, hi everyone.
This is Tingting and her lovely daughter, Tiana. And Tingting, that is an absolutely psychedelic outfit that you're wearing. And listen to this little guy. Nathan, who am I?
Who's that? Who's this?
Who am I, Nathan?
No.
What's my name?
Um.
You can do it.
Komkov.
This is Nathan, the extraordinary trap drum player at just 3 years old. And so Nathan, Tiana, their mama, and Ting Ting, we did your performance. We did the partita, and we listened to it. And you'll have to forgive me because when you go back and look at it, you're gonna see pictures of me and Kevin popping in and out as I try to adjust things. It was a beautiful performance, and I spent the afternoon with Ting Ting, and I asked Ting Ting,
Yes.
that's Nathan the singer.
I know he likes to sing. Nathan, Nathan, Mama talks to them. We're gonna listen to Papa Rick sing. We're gonna listen to Papa Rick.
Okay, so Ting Ting, should we bring you on a little bit later? Because we can do that, or do you want to just give it a try now?
I'm waiting for Alex to come home.
Okay, why don't we bring you on in about 15 minutes? Because actually, I have to tell you, while Ting Ting is on the screen, what she asked me to ask her about is being a mother of young children, very young children, and a working musician at the same time. So rather than explaining that with words, she's demonstrating it by her very presence. And I spent the afternoon with her, playing with her lovely children and talking about what we'd be doing tonight and what we'd be talking about tonight. So we're going to go do as much as we can right now. So Ting Ting, give us a little bit about your journey
To
in music. Well, just your journey in music and how you got here and how it became your passion, and now the challenge of being that with the small children in your midst.
Okay, I will take hours to talk about that. But long story short, yes. So I started my violin when I was a 4-year-old, I believe, 4.5 or close to 5. My dad started he loved the music. Because he found out I was really talented. Because I was just like Nathan, just sing all over the place. Like when I'm walking, I sing. And I like to sing, I like to dance. So my dad started with my violin lessons when I was age 5. And it's always through to 30 years now. So you probably can figure out how old I am now. 30 years later, I'm still playing violin. And I've become a professional violinist. I graduated from Beijing Conservatory, Central Conservatory. I want to say 15 years ago. I had a bachelor there, and then Nathan, I cannot hear my talk.
Hey, I have an idea. I have an idea. Bring Nathan to the screen and hold your thought right there. Bring Nathan up to the screen.
Okay, come on, Nathan.
Nathan, okay. You know what? I'm going to give you a chance to sing us a song, and then we're going to let your mom take a turn for a little bit. So can you do a song for us right now? Because you sounded like you were doing something really special. I don't know. You can pick the song. But if you want to share a song with us, that would be really, really wonderful. And you'll be singing for a lot of people who will really enjoy it. Yeah. Will you sing for us? Go ahead, buddy. Sing for Bappa.
Take me out to the ball game. They don't care if they run. And you 1, 2, 3, right there. All ball game.
give
better that I talk.
we're gonna give your mom a turn now, Nathan, and then we'll come back to you for another song.
Okay. Think about it next song. Okay, think about it.
Because I'm an educator, I know how to do this.
You are really good. Good.
So Nathan, hang in there and think about the next song you're gonna do, but hold on to it until your mom gets her turn to speak a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so
So I worked in the Guangzhou Symphony for years, and then I decided to quit my job because I just feel passionate for study, keep learning my violin skill. So I come to United States. I went to USC for my degree. Actually, it's a diploma, and I really enjoyed the study there because it just open my eyes. It's everything I see is different. I was seeing back in China, but I'm appreciate that I built a really strong skill in China. It's a really different teaching technique between China and the United States. So I learned both the good ways. I think that really built my strong skills. So that now I had my kids. I had my first Nathan. I cannot really think what you think. So that was 4 years ago. 3 years ago, I had the first baby, and I started to realize that I have to sacrifice all my time for my babies. And I just decided not to practice for a while, and I didn't know how long it will be. And turned out it's been 3 years in a row. 3 years. I haven't been serious. I've been practicing for 3 years, but the previous years when the technique I learned from school really hold me up, because I really done the whole. When I become a mom, I realized that being a musician, so that means you have to put a lot of time to practice. It's about mind practice. When you become a mom, you gotta have a strong mind, a strong heart, to believe that you can do something, and it's something you still have. So yes.
I think also you were telling me about playing when you play and little Tiana just listens.
Yes. So that's really means something to me for being a mom and being a musician, because she just really enjoyed my practice. Every time when I'm trying to when she wake, I'm trying to practice when she awake. But I tried a couple times. Sometimes too many things going on. But once when I practice, she just listens really careful, and then really she's amazed about music. Every time she listens to music, she smiles. The big smile on her face, it just means a lot to me.
Absolutely.
Nothing else can be more beauty than this. This big smile on her face, and then something I can share with her. Be a musician, and as well as Nathan, because Nathan is really passionate about music. Right, Nathan?
Actually, we could hear one more little song from Nathan, and then I want to also talk about, just for a minute, about one other subject here. So, Nathan, are you ready for one more song?
What another song you want to sing?
Any song's okay.
Any song. How about
Twinkle, Twinkle?
How about Twinkle, Twinkle? Baby Shark? Or
all right, one more round of Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Yes, how about ball game?
One more time at the ball game.
Me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. They don't care the rain. And 1, 2, 3, let's take the ball game.
Woo! Thank you. I think we're going to go back to your mom. So I have one other question from you, and that is so part of what Kevin and I are going to discuss tonight. And by the way, I will put your YouTube in the chat, because I wasn't able to put it on tonight, and I know you'll play for us another night. But I did put on your partita. But I I wanted to just tell you that the reason Kevin and I are on is because we're at this moment when we're going back to live school. And a lot of schools have already cut out their music programs for lack of money, for lack of continuity, for lack of being able to really manage it during the pandemic. And so it is going to be critical for us all to sustain the music. And I think that Tingting, you have persevered through your whole life in music. And I think that you know the value and what it brings to you, because when I see you play, I see you totally in line with who you are. And
Exactly.
I appreciate that so much. And we wish you all the best. If you want to close it out, that's great. And then Kevin and I are going to kind of take it from here. And I appreciate you coming on. And Nathan was awesome. And Tiana's beautiful.
Yes, they're beautiful.
So what's your goal for this year, the next year?
Oh, man.
In music.
You know, another thing I want to share is these top of the goals. So before I have a kid, you know, being musicians, we all have egos. Strong egos, I have to say. All the musicians, you have to have the passion and have the egos that want to have something, wanted to be a good violinist. So now I become mom and musician. I just wanted to keep proof myself that I can play, that I can play even beautier than used to be like last year. That's all my goal. I might win some auditions. Well, I used to have a goal to win auditions, win the competitions. All this my egos, but now I just become like beyond that. I think the music is not about just competition. It's about you sharing. Exactly like you said. Now all the schools, most of the schools, they don't have to stop the music program, which is, I think, not being musicians. We need to work hard on that to share the music as much as we can.
Absolutely.
And let the people understand. I think the music never stops.
Absolutely.
The program stops, but music never stops.
There you go. And I put Tingting's up on top. As you know, working musicians are working hard. And so whenever someone performs, I always put their PayPal or their Venmo account, and you're welcome to compliment them with a gratuity. Hers is up there. I'm also going to put up at the end your YouTube, and hopefully people will go towards it. And Tingting, you know that our family loves your family.
Yes.
And you mean the world to us. And I love to share the love and the family and all the sweetness.
We love you.
Thank you for coming.
I love you.
Okay.
All right, enjoy it.
Right.
Have a the rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
So Kevin, we're going to come back, and I just want to segue in coming back to say that Tingting's husband, Alex, taught for a number of years at Summerfield where we taught. And this is really an example of a musical family. Alex is a violist and a violinist. Tingting is a fine violinist and a pianist. And what they contribute is amazing. And their children will have no problem because they're exposed to the music from a very, very early age. But I'll just segue to what we were talking about, which is that if the children don't have mentors in their life, and they don't have an environment and a school program that values music, then the chances of them ever getting to the point of discovering their passion are questionable. So we broke for Tingting, and thank you for giving that time. And we come now, and I'm very interested in knowing about your journey, because I met you right at the end of, or I would say towards the closing of the opera door, and the really entrance into the world of guiding and mentoring and teaching adolescents. It was quite a transition. And so I'd love you to share how you came upon music and what influences made a difference to you and really apparently still make a difference because you're doing the same thing in a much broader way.
Yeah, thanks. I thought that I might offer another transition between Tingting and Nathan's appearances as well. And this is my version of the song that Nathan was singing. I didn't want to offer it at that same time, but it's one that that lives in some kind of infamy in my family and some of my close friends. And it goes something like this. It's tricky. It goes, take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jack. I don't care if I never get back. Oh, it's root, root, root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes. You're out at the old ball.
So, I love it.
Thanks. So with that transition in mind, I would say that I'm one, not so much now, but certainly when I was younger, I was just like Tingting in that I was always running around making sounds, always had my mouth open, and was always singing or making nonsense syllables or just exploring the world of sound. And that was so important to me that you had a really tough time shutting me up. And it was hard to channel all that energy that was coming out, all that vocal energy. Notwithstanding that, I didn't really take my gift seriously at all until I was in my early 20s. To go back a little bit further, you and I were talking about early childhood education, and there was a guy by the name of Bill Hilborn. William Hilborn was his name, and he had been a touring jazz pianist, and at least as far as I'm aware, at least the Pacific Coast, Northwest, Southwest states. And he had a career, and I think what happened with him was that he needed to stick around closer to home because of some of the complications of his diabetes. I don't know if it was type 1 or type 2, but he had to have sugars around in case he had a spell. And I remember once in 6th grade running for his car to get a pack of Lifesavers because he was lying on the ground in some kind of faint and had asked somebody to go get some. He was a peach. He was such a good man. He taught us, what used to be called Negro spirituals. I think they are still called that. Maybe they're called something else these days. And he taught us pop music and rock music and classical music and plain song and all kinds of things, Gregorian chants. And so in 6th, 7th, and 8th grades, we had Bill Hilborn. And then he, I heard anyway, mentored some of my peers as they got into their 20s and wanted to have music careers. And he was still available to help them very selflessly and very, very beautifully. So he was really my first idea that, hey, we can all, get together and do something that is serious and that is fun and that, shuttles back and forth between the individual and the collective and gives you a chance to excel in some way that you might not get a chance to in other, areas of your school life. And I was not a popular kid, and I was, I was okay academically. And I was okay sports-wise. So I had other outlets, but it's something that your wife Heather was talking about as well. That this can be a safe harbor for children who don't necessarily excel at many of the other things that schools will offer, and something in the arts or in music gives them a chance to, not just feel like they have some power and then some agency in their life. But also begin to have some relationship to beauty. I thought that was so profound what she said. The reminder that this is an opportunity and an access to beauty that children might otherwise not have, and that was certainly my case. And then, as I told you, there were a couple of things that I did. I'm mindful of time. We don't have a ton of time now, right? We got.
You can just go for it.
It's okay.
Feel comfortable.
Okay, I'll go for a little bit. There was something, I mean, you asked, so So I'll tell you, this was called the Living Christmas Tree, and this was the Menlo Park Baptist Church. I could have the denomination wrong. I apologize to anybody if I don't have the right denomination. But it was something at Christmas time where it was a church that had probably about a 50-foot A-frame, apex, right up there by the altar, and they built into it something that was the bottom row, a place where the basses and baritones could stand, and then in the next 5 or 6 or 7 rows, all the way up to the highest sopranos, where there was only room for 2 of them. And so you had a bunch of children. It was all children being led by a youth minister in seasonal song, and it was all lit up, and it was all garlanded with boughs, and it looked pretty darned impressive. And I did that for a couple of years at the behest or bossing or inspiration of my sister Kathy, my big sister Kathy, who, by the way, I don't know, serendipitously enough, kismet, she is having some vocal trouble right now, and I'm coaching her. So she's running into some of these things that I'm specializing in, which are called presbyphonia. And all that means is the changes that happen to the vocal folds and to the vocal apparatus when you're older. So that's right. I worked with you for a couple of years, as a matter of fact. And you might, I suppose when I interview you, which I want to save some time for.
Good.
Maybe we'll get into that territory. I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
So anyway, she was a big musical inspiration for me. With Kathy, my eldest sister, I never needed to buy an LP. I mean, I just had great music around me all the time growing up in high school. So brings me to high school. I got into a cappella choir when I was in 9th grade, had to audition for it. I was shy about a ton of things, but not about my voice. And as a matter of fact, in high school, I was very disaffected. Did not do well at all academically, barely got out of the place. I had a 2.25 GPA coming out of the place. And yeah, we'll dead end that story. But for 4 years, I had a place to be, and I had an identity, and I had a love for doing some singing. Then when I got out of school, I went to UC Santa Barbara, and then to Foothill College, and then to Boston University. And when I came back again after a couple of years, I began taking some drama classes at Foothill College in Los Altos, and did that for a couple of years, and began to be in lots and lots of theater, and eventually music theater, quite a lot of that. Eventually moved to Los Angeles. Does that leave out? Yeah, that does leave out my sojourn in Chicago, but that was a theater sojourn, much more than a musical one. Went to Los Angeles, did some things down there as an actor, mostly a stage actor, and then got convinced when I was 30 to begin studying opera. So when I began studying opera, pretty shortly thereafter, I started getting hired in large roles with small companies, small roles with large companies, and chorus contracts with the largest companies, which down there were the San Diego and Los Angeles operas. And so that happened for a good long time, and got married, had a child with my now ex-wife, Deborah. And we were still in Los Angeles, and I was singing at the LA Opera and some other places. And we decided that we wanted to move to the Bay Area, and I auditioned for the San Francisco Opera Chorus, and I ended up singing there for 7 years. And at the end of that time, I wanted to move into something different. And that became being a chorus leader, the leader of the choir, at Summerfield in the high school. And that was for 13 years. And did a lot of musicals, including with you, Rick Konkoff, and that was so much fun. So that's kind of, and along the way, I always had, without doing any kind of promotion or hanging a shingle, as my dad would say, always was, teaching a few voice students, always was coaching a few acting students. And the mother of one of my students I mentored and was also in many of my productions, Sella Shiloni. His mom said, "Listen, Kev, the stuff that you do with these children, you could easily, transfer to the adult world, to the entrepreneurial world, to the corporate world." And I just kind of tucked that away for a couple of years, and so I began to do it about 3-4 years ago, and now I'm doing it, pretty much full-time, pretty much exclusively. And that is doing, public speaking. I still am teaching voice, working with older people whose voices have gone a little bit astray. And that, I guess, is my journey. Wow. I can't hear you. Mute. You are on mute.
I enjoy hearing that story because I got to hear it twice, and there were parts that I remembered and parts that were new. One of the things I want to say, and one of the reasons why I asked Kevin to come on, is because as teachers, we learn that it's nice if our students respect us, admire us, revere us, even love us. It feels good. But what really feels the best is when they love our relationship with the discipline or the subject that we're teaching. Because you cannot teach zeal. You can only live zeal and model zeal. And I don't really care if it happens to be on one day my zeal for the Oakland Athletics, which of course was the reason why, part of the reason why young Nathan was wearing an A's shirt and singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." I have already had that influence on him. And even at that young, tender age, what he loves is my zeal and my excitement for something like a game. And so you spoke very tenderly about your teachers, a couple of teachers that really made a difference to you because of your admiration of who they were and what they did and what they brought and how they helped to mentor and influence you. And what I want to say is that there's another whole level, and that is that you later spoke to me in your story after you talked about their impressions and their influence on you. You talked later about the work you were doing. And as you were talking about it, I became very emotionally moved because I realized that part of what you've done, including performing and teaching and loving music and modeling music and living music, and all those things connected with it, which include the speaking voice, the theater, the choir, ensemble, creativity, is you became a part of you, channeled and became those who influenced you. And that is the legacy of teaching.
I would agree.
Right? Because if you talk to any person, probably anyone, can name at least one teacher or one coach or one mentor or one choir director who helped them on their journey to believe in themselves and to believe in the possibility of not necessarily achievement and performance, but of true learning and true inner success.
Right. I do you mind if I
absolutely take it from there?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, you and I have talked about this before, and it's something that you just sort of got into some of the territory of. When we are teaching in a high school environment, we're not really concerned with virtuosity particularly. Of course, virtuosity is nice, and virtuosity is something that children, generally speaking, have put, name a number already, 1,000 hours, 6,000 hours, by the time they get to high school into, and those children either are or aren't going to be having some kind of solo or orchestral or recording or, music career where, that can be measured by, are they making a living at it, which is something that is a key, I would say, obsession of folks who are gathered around the idea of what an education should be. Does it pay? Will it pay? Okay, does it lead to a career? Something like that. But the nice thing about not being overly concerned with virtuosity, and the nice thing about being able to offer all kinds of children an experience, is that it fits into the old, humanizing idea of liberal arts education. And that is social, emotional, literacy and intelligence, and artistic striving, and as I said before, the interplay of the individual and the group. And there are so many lessons that being in an orchestra or a band or a choir or in the cast of a play will offer to a child that are not immediately expressed in dollars and cents out the other end of the pipeline. And I know many people have made this argument and are sensitive to this argument. One of the ways this argument is, and stop me if I'm going in a direction.
No, that's great. There is no wrong direction, Kevin.
Go. Yeah. So one of the chief arguments that you began to hear some years ago for arts education, music education, drama education, whatever it was, is that it had measurable positive effects in the child's aptitude, ability, achievement in STEM classes, in the core reading, writing, arithmetic type classes. And it was shown in study after study after study that arts education more than paid for itself when expressed in those ways. This is where I like to sort of bring in, all right, so we know that maybe the old sort of gentlemanly idea, and again, it was, exclusive of all kinds of folks in our society that we would never think of excluding today, and in fact are doing our best to include, and is this sort of idea of well-roundedness is its own reward, right? The sort of idea of a liberal education, not for everybody at that time, but increasingly for people after the GI Bill and with the spread of public education and all that stuff, right, was its own reward. Well, yes, that's true, but guess what? It's also becoming the case that music education and philosophy and humanities are actually the coming skills that we are going to need our children to have. Because when we look ahead into the future, right, and here I just want to credit somebody that I've been listening to quite a lot recently, and his name is Yuval Noah Harari, and he's a public intellectual and a historian and an author who teaches both in Tel Aviv, he's an Israeli citizen, and also internationally now. And he's not very difficult to find. Yuval Noah Harari is his name. And he says, look, nobody knows what jobs future we are preparing kids who are entering first grade. Nobody knows what's out there. Nobody can really make any kind of a guess. You might be able to guess for a handful of years, but you can't guess for 15, 20 years out. And he says that the skills that today's children are going to need, the only thing that is evident about those skills is that the children will need to know themselves, and they will need to know other people, and they will need to have critical thinking skills, and they will need to be nimble. And they will need to be able to look at something and see it for what it is. And these are judgments, evaluations, experiences that people who study this, and I don't particularly, I just look at the results of such studies, but people who study this say come directly from arts and humanities education. Because you're going to need to reinvent yourself, according to him and to other experts, every 10 years. Every 20 years, right? Every 5 years, because the rise of AI, and I mean, that's just one factor, right, that we can look at. And we can say, it's going to be obviating so many different things. I mean, just to take an example that you wouldn't even think of, shrinks. My woman friend, she is an MFT. There's going to be algorithms, there's going to be software programs, there's going to be machine learning that can look at a million different case histories and just run you through a flow chart of if this symptom presents, then this has seemed to work. And they're going to be doing a pretty damn good job. I could go on and on about this, but it's very convincing that right at this moment, the last thing we need to be cutting is music and arts.
Right. And Kevin,
and this for the very reason that the other things parents are thinking their children have lost over this year, calling it the lost year, which is counterproductive, right? Parents think that that can be measured in skills around math and sciences and English and things like that they won't catch up on, right? They can catch up on that stuff. They can definitely catch up on that stuff. But for what reason? I mean, what are they being prepared for?
Well, and I want to say you've also inspired me. And at the end of my little response here, and I sort of feel like I am being interviewed in a way because you're bringing out stuff in me just like I'm bringing out stuff in you, which is what we do on our Tuesday morning walks every week through the park and through the woods, which I value so much. I want to just throw another light on this because I think it's important. So Marshall McLuhan, who a lot of people don't know, was a foreteller of the worldwide. He invented, or he coined the expression World Wide Web way back in the 60s. And he was a foreteller of this battle between technology and humanity. And he used to say, is the media the message or the message the media? And there was all those debates, which we can talk about, for a long time. But what I feel was happening is up till the pandemic, we were immersed, especially our children were, but we were immersed in this downward view towards the phone, towards the computer. I always say what happened in the last presidential term had a lot of to do with the fact that everybody or lots of people looked like this all the time and weren't looking up into the world. And we were glorifying, iconizing, if I can use that word, idolizing technology. And when the pandemic hit, suddenly the technology, a lot of the technology, especially around this kind of thing we're doing right now in Zooming, went from novelty to necessity overnight. And so we had this paradigm of the technology being ahead of humanity, and now technology is really trailing humanity. And I have students who are saying, I am so sick and tired of looking at a screen, and I am so sick and tired of virtual this and virtual that and virtual this. Get me out of here. Get me into human contact. Give me hugs. Get my oxytocin, the chemical, the love chemical. Get it brewing. And so maybe, just maybe, we've had a glimpse that complements what you're saying, which is that anybody can learn how to run a computer. Anybody can learn a certain level of math. Anybody can learn, can take in information, assimilate information. But what is hard to teach is heart and soul. And heart and soul comes through music. Music and love are very close siblings. And we have a chance now to tell our kids, yes, you're right. This is what the world could become, what we've been experiencing in the last year. It's much easier on many levels for people to offer their wares virtually than to offer them in person. And what you're not getting in person right now, you're getting me, but you're not getting, one of my mentors used to say, it's funny because we all call each other names. Like I call you Kevin, but I call me I. I call me I and me. We all call ourselves the same way. And the way we individuate is through expression, through art and through nature. And so we're in a strange era where that's almost under assault. And I feel that every parent and every teacher who possibly can speak out right now for the arts. I mean, the best anti-drug program, if we get into, we want to have anti-drug programs in schools. The best anti-drug program is a good fine arts program, in my opinion, because you give the kids something to elevate. And I know that when I watch your musicals, I know I participate in leading the orchestra, but when I watch your plays and musicals, what's so interesting is that these two things, theater and music, are time machines, because Shakespeare doesn't live unless people perform it.
Right.
And Bach doesn't live.
It is dead unless we bring it to life.
Right.
But also, we are not as alive without it.
Right.
So it goes both ways. And I just wanted very quickly to say, if we're going to stop right on
we
time.
Don't need. We can go a little extra. Nobody says we can't.
I could spend a little bit of extra time just to restate quickly what you said.
Please.
And that is,
I'm the timekeeper.
So thank you. So I feel safe. I just wanted to say I feel
good.
safe. So if safer and safer, if we have had a lost year, the thing that we have lost most profoundly is just what you're talking about, and that is togetherness, and that is being together in some kind of group. Now, it's, of course, every group has some kind of intent or intention or plan or goal in being together. Our goal as educators around having children together in a group is to entertain the question, what is it that we can learn in a group much, much better, or even in a way that can't be learned as individuals? What is it that what are you here for? So in other words, if I am honest with a child in high school, depending upon the child's maturity, I hope I'd be able to make this judgment. But, they might say, their behavior might say, why I got to be here? Why I got to be here 7 hours? Why do I got to be here? And, and the message is, I just got to be good at everything. And if I'm just good at everything all the time, then I can go off and do something else where I have to be good at everything, or maybe specialize and maybe get a job. Why do I have to be here 7 hours a day? And I will say, yes, you are right. It is warehousing. We are warehousing you. And that's so that your mom and dad can go be in the world of work. And that's how the structure of the thing is set up right now. But I'll turn it and I'll say, what can you learn? What can you learn here? And it's self and other. You can learn self. You can learn self in relation to material. And it's really important to be somebody who loves the material, obviously, and also loves the child. And there's a structure where the educator and the student are out here, and the material is in the middle, and both are gazing at it, and regarding it with some degree of curiosity. Let's just say, right? It doesn't even necessarily have to be awe or over respect, but just some engaged curiosity to see what's here. What do we got? What do we got here today, kids? And out of that comes travel, growth. You're not the same person coming out of a full musical production. You're not the same person coming out of a semester of orchestra. I mean, music is emotion. It is social. So, and your relation to it, and your relation to individual expertise, and to something that you craft as a group that you offer in performance as a gift. I mean, if we need anything in society that we don't have now, we need that. We really need that.
And I'm taking notes here, as you can see, because you're bringing up such fantastic things that it's worth it for me to be looking down, taking notes when we're on the air. But two things I want to say. One is it does remind me of baseball, my favorite passion, one of my favorite passions, because you saw the Oakland A's for the first 7 games highlighting their individual talents. These are all virtuosos. And you saw them go out and do the thing they do, and try to do the thing they do and succeed at it. And as a team, they lost 7 games, the first 7 games. Well, suddenly something magical happened, and that's called coalescing. They coalesced. And so but they didn't have to give up their identities to coalesce.
No, but they did have to put some risk and some work in.
Right. And they had to, I think they had to show up. And one of the best lines that I ever heard at a seminar, the seminar was called Dealing with Difficult People. And we all showed up, and the leader asked us each to talk about who is the difficult person in our life. We went around in a circle. We all shared who the difficult person was. And he says, well, I'm prepared to give you all a refund because I cannot help you with that difficult person. But I can help you when you're a difficult person. And he made this statement that was so true. And he said, you cannot change people, but you can make them uncomfortable. And if making them uncomfortable comes from a genuine place of love and support and tenderness and respect and integrity, then they make the change.
I'm here. I'm going to increase the light.
Good. The change comes not from, you cannot change your partner. Your partner can change your partner's self, but you can say, this is who I am, and this is what I can bring, and this is what I can't bring, and this is what I can't work with, and these are my deal breakers. Ultimately, we change ourselves, but we don't change if we're not made a little uncomfortable. And I will say, right here in public, that in my 2 years of voice lessons with you, every single lesson involved me feeling uncomfortable at some point.
I'm sorry.
and no, but you crafted.
I didn't mean it.
You crafted it. You see, when you love your students and when you care about your students, and you say, okay, I'm just going to tell you, this is what you just sounded like. And you hear it and you go, well, that's silly because I don't pronounce that word like that in real life. And yet I'm pronouncing it in an affected way. And you would bring that, and it's really hard to change how you speak or how you talk or how you project or how you reach out or give out into the world. And yet that growth is cathartic for health, for mental and spiritual health.
Amen. And when you're learning that in a group, it's a bit like master class. Mm-hmm. Because it's not always your moment to stand and deliver. And hopefully, if you're an educator, you're not constantly wrong-footing a child and putting them on the spot. You might have the self-possession and the skill in craft to go to a child who has not been contributing much and to say, hey, just want to let you know, tomorrow's your day.
Right.
We're tomorrow I'm going to bring a question to you, right. In real space and time.
Right.
And so it's a delicate, or you might not, or that child might not even be able to handle that much. Now we're getting into teaching strategies a little bit. I had a mentor who, said, he observed one of my classes one time when I was early in teaching, and he said, I love so much about what you do. I'm going to propose a model for how you teach, and then I'm going to tell you the model of how I teach. He said, your model seems to be something like you want to take every child with you all the time on the journeys in your classroom. And it was true. I mean, I really was one of these very noticing kinds of teachers. I mean, if you were doing something in the back row, down in your lap, and it looked like a phone, right, or some other kind of activity or something like that, you were gonna draw my attention. I was not oblivious.
Right.
But his model, and he said that's a difficult model. there's a lot of wear and tear for you, and there's a lot of wear and tear for the students in your class, because sometimes they may just need to chill out. And at that time, I was still not allowing like ninth graders to wear their baseball caps.
Right.
In my class. After this conversation, I did, because I just thought, you know what? That boy needs that cap.
Right.
Just to be here. And anyway, his model was, I make a big pot of delicious soup.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume, I make sure that everybody has a spoon and a bowl. And I assume that you're going to eat when you're hungry.
Right.
Nice model.
I love it.
I did do a little bit of research coming in here, just a little bit. And I wanted to say that can I give just a couple of minutes on the fruits of that? Since I hope this audience is comprises parents as well as students. But so there's something that was identified some time ago in the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. And they identified 5 competencies that came out of, that were effectively, verifiably increased and enhanced by humanities and arts education. And the 5 competencies are self-regulation, relationship skills, social awareness, self-awareness, and decision-making skills. And those are some of the things that Mr. Harari is pointing to. And I guess I just want to say one more thing, if we have a minute, or would you?
And I'm going to ask you after you do that. I want to make a little sort of business announcement about where we're going, and then I would love you to share one of those. I think you had sung a gospel.
Oh, I already sang. No, I already sang.
Oh, you sang? Oh,
yes,
okay,
I sang the ball game.
Okay, but out of syntax, but that's okay.
Yeah, the trouble with the stuff that I remember from when I was in early, music education, is mostly I just remember the spirituals.
Right.
And guess what? They have a lot of language that we wouldn't use these days.
I know.
And
books have a lot. Novels of yesteryear have a lot of words in them.
It's so problematic. I mean, you just can't do it.
I'll let you off the hook.
So, okay, thanks. So I was just going to say that when I taught, and this is again an appeal to what can you learn in an orchestra? What can you learn in a choir? What can you learn that you couldn't learn better at home, with a tutor, right? Any kind of a tutor. And so the long way around to that is when I taught high school civics, I would begin each day with the same question, if I remembered, which I usually did. So I would say, what is the smallest unit of human identity? Is it the individual or the group? The smallest unit of human identity, is it the individual or the group? And we would have a really lively discussion on that. And it's unanswerable in that session, but it became the hinge and the lens for the class. We've just come back again and again and again, and that is the core question in how we're going to live together as a civil society. It seems to me, rights and privileges and obligations and things like that. And I think that our society's focus on the individual and whether they succeed or fail, it just results in high drama. I mean, you can be a bum, you can be a hero, you can be a Steve Jobs or a Jeff Bezos type, or you can be a Big Lebowski type, minus the laughs, right? There's no limit to how high you could go or how low you could go. But in an orchestra or a band or in the cast of a play, you're involved in the interplay of the individual and the group. And the same with baseball and many other things that we could name, right? And this is just something that music and arts and of course sports and other things that you could name are absolutely vital for. And so I'm just making an appeal to whatever we can do to to valorize and retain and maintain and even expand arts and music education.
Absolutely.
And maybe I'll get a chance to interview you at some point, Rick, but I guess I just kind of got on my hobby horse a little bit and just kind of talked.
Okay, so. And as you were talking, I love this kind of talking because we need to do more of it. And I like to go back and forth. And one of the things that came up for me, I don't know why, when you were talking about this, is about the presence of mistakes, of which I made many at the beginning of the show, in terms of pressing the wrong button or the wrong square or whatever. And I came up with a saying that is self-comforting, and I think that will be comforting to others.
Yeah.
Which is, it's okay to make a mistake. And it's okay to have a flaw. But don't be the mistake. Don't become the mistake, and don't become the flaw. And that, I think, is what art and music teaches us, because at some point we have to be done with the painting. At some time we have to be done with the recording. At some time we have to be done with a script or a book. There has to be a moment when we say, okay, I can live with the flaws. And I just want to let everybody know that we do this particular show today in honor of the preservation of the opportunity for our children to experience love and compassion, loving kindness, unconditional love and care and feeling and emotion and sentiment through all of the arts. And that we would no more say that math is optional to our curriculum. Let's cut out math this year because we just don't have enough money to pay for math. Then we would say that for any other discipline that our children need to be exposed to. So Kevin and I are going to embark on some more conversations, and we may include other people who have expertise in various areas. And we're going to begin that in May. I believe it's on May 11th on a Tuesday night. And I will advertise and put out there what that discussion will be about, but it will center around secondary education and things that could change, that need to change, that we want to have change. And what I am going to do is, because Tingting's partita was so short, and because I did flash various things, the Dalai Lama was asked, well, don't you ever make mistakes? In a book I read about the Dalai Lama, and he said, yes, I do. Well, talk about it. And he said, the effort to not make mistakes is futile. You cannot avoid mistakes. The question is, how quickly do you make it right? And so I'm going to close tonight again with Tingting's partita, and that we opened with, and I'm going to let you listen to it unadulterated by button pushing. And I'm going to encourage you, if you look in the comment section tonight,
do we have any comments?
We have comments. Yes, they're rather nice comments. Would you like to hear them?
Oh, sure. All right,
we can do that. We have time. No one says we can't. It's my show, and I'll cry if I want to. Someone said, love violin, classical music, great mind stimulators. Good evening, Rick and company. Carl, our good friend Carl, said, Kevin, good save. And Carl also said, no violin solo? And my mom said, hi, it's Mom. Katie, the piano player who accompanied you once in your class, said, hi, Kevin and Rick. Great, take me out to the ball game. And bah. And then she said, something else that was sweet down below. She said, thanks for sharing your journey, Kevin. I played piano for your choir once, sight reading, never having seen the music before, laughing out loud.
I remember.
And Marsha McLuhan was big when I was in Canada, she says. Agree and arts are the best drug program. Enjoying the conversation. I'm directing a choir in San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
And teaching piano right now. Good for you, Katie. You're not going to stop. They're not going to stop you. And expand arts and music education. We absolutely agree. So I'm going to bring on Tingting's partita. And although it's actually box partita, but Tingting played it. And then I'm going to say good night. And Kevin, you can bid us farewell. And let's see if I can do it right this time.
Okay, bye, everybody. Thanks so much, Rick.
You're welcome.
Talk to you
Bye-bye.
soon. Okay, see you.
Bye.
Bye.
You can go ahead and let yourself out, Kevin.
I don't know how.
Okay, I'm going to teach you.
I'll just close the whole thing down, but that's the only thing I can see.
Okay, I'm going to teach you how to close it out. Oh, it won't let me. Okay, no problem. We'll do it.
Oh, yeah, I see something. It says I can do it. Bye.
Hello everyone, I'm going to play Giga in the second partita by Sebastian Bach. Hello everyone, I'm going to play Giga in the second partita by Sebastian Bach.
Well, I love that. And I love that I got to spend a day, part of a day, talking about this with Tingting, and appreciating the challenge and the joy and the perseverance and the tenacity of maintaining a relationship of integrity with the violin, which is such a demanding instrument, and with her lovely children, for which she is entirely present. And we got to have a little glimpse of that. So I'm going to repost it in the chat section, her PayPal account. Part of this program is about supporting these people. And yeah, let's see if I can. There we go. It says Rick Konkoff right there on the screen, and it says violingoo1985 at gmail.com. Please, please, gratuities for Tingting and her family. And blessings to everybody. May you stay well. May you stay healthy. May you have happiness. May you have contentment. May you find the little things that make you feel wonderful and happy and fulfilled and that bring you joy. May you live more in the now and less in the past and a bit less in the future. Because what we've really learned, if we've learned anything in the last year and a half, is that now is precious. We will see you next week. Thanks for joining us. Rick Konkoff's Coffee House. Please like our Facebook, Rick Konkoff's Coffee House, and my YouTube channel, Rick Konkoff YouTube channel live. Okay, take care.